Hi everyone, I'm Charlotte and I'm here from Metricus. I'm excited to be here debuting after I've been spent so long kind of getting these events ready for the past few months. So today I'm going to be here with Fiona Bennett, the Senior Workplace Manager or Workplace Extraordinaire, as I like to say, from Depop. Fiona, do you want to kind of introduce yourself?
Okay. Hi everyone. Firstly, Charlotte, thanks for having me and for all the hype out there. Really appreciate it. So I've been working at Depop for nearly 10 months now. I look after the facilities and workplace experience for our global offices. Prior to that, I worked in office management and workplace operations for another tech company for quite a long time. And yeah, love workplace experience, love talking about it.
Yeah, hybrid working is definitely such a hot topic at the minute, but I'm kind of hoping for you guys that we can get some actionable insights into what hybrid working actually means and what a good workplace actually is. So yeah, Fiona, you said you started your career in office management, and I think it'd be really nice to know how that transition into kind of senior workplace management has been, and also, I guess, what the main priorities for a workplace manager is.
Yeah, so office management can mean so many different things. It can be the person that orders your stationery, or the person that handles an office move, or the person that does some HR processes and IT stuff, like all kinds of things. So I think for me, the change from office management into workplace operations was just actually focusing. Like in office management, you tend to do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. You handle so many different things. Changing to workplace management focuses on the experience and the facilities and the real estate and like the marriage of all of those things. So it's, what are our food and beverage programs? Do our offices look like? Are they safe? Are they great places to be? And it's just that big marriage.
Yeah, and does that feed into a little bit more about like culture and sustainability as well, or is it very just the building itself? How does it interact with like the people, I guess?
Yeah, I think that the people are your number one thing. The culture is your number one thing. There's a lot of like traditional facilities management out there that's very much about the building, and it has to be for those bigger companies. Like there's so much to look into. When you're a smaller company like us, it's how does what we're providing feed into what the people need? Like, what is the culture that our company wants? What is the culture that our people want? Is it a creative company? Are they a collaborative company? Does it have space for the social aspect? And how does the workplace that we're providing and the experience that we're providing support that? And then the other things that we have to prioritize is, how are they flexible? We're all changing up the way that we work. We're all looking at this hybrid working model. And we know what people want, and we know what all the white papers out there say, and we know what all the different, like the many webinars like this one that you're attending. But it's like, what do you need for your company, and how is that going to change? And a lot of it's quite unpredictable at the moment. So it's asking what people want, but making sure that there is space in your plans, a space in your offices, so that you can change it if it turns out you actually need more of one thing or another thing. So flexible workspaces. And then sustainability for us is just a huge topic. Like, that is what Depop is about. We're about that circular economy. We are about making the world a better place, as most tech startups are. But we're about, it reminds me of Silicon Valley, make the world a better place. But we're about people finding new pieces that they love, that are moving on to their next life. And we have to practice what we preach in the way that we run our workplaces. Like, what are we doing to make sure that we are living our most sustainable way? And workplace waste there's so much of it, from things like the individual packaging on foods to when you do an office fit out. I have been part of fit outs where significant amounts of furniture have just gone to landfill. Perfectly good furniture. Yeah. I'm ashamed to say, but I will never be part of one of those again.
Yeah, no. And so you're building a new office. We were just speaking about before we went live in Farringdon, which is really exciting. And I guess, you're developing as a company. You just got bought by Etsy, so congrats on that too. For people who didn't know, but yeah, so I think I'm really interested in learning a little bit more about culture, but also how the building affects the culture, or whether it's the people that that come in and then make it theirs. It'd be great to hear from you what you think about that.
I think there is like a lot of influence that your environment that you're in can affect your culture, like if it's an inspiring environment or if it's a more corporate environment. But I think it's the people that you put into that environment. Like you could work out of a warehouse and have amazing, cool people, or you could work out of a warehouse and have less amazing, cool people. Like it's the people bring it to them, and they will have that influence on the environment themselves. I think if I was to put the Depoppers into just a plain white box, 2 months later it would have like fly posters all over the wall, like little they have so many like little bits. They've glitter balls all over the place, like like a disco ball. Like
those.
I think people can have as much an influence on their environment as the environment can have on the people, such who you work with, right?
Yeah, I love that. And so with the new office, are you kind of building with that in mind? And how did you figure out really what the people wanted from that?
So we asked them what they wanted. We sent out a survey back in December when we were first at the beginning of our search, and it was 25 minutes long, and they were absolute troopers for getting through it. But we asked them, what did they want from their future office? How often did they want to come into the office? What kind of spaces they want in the office? What kind of amenities they want in the office? Do they want games rooms? Do they want chill out rooms? Do they want fixed desking? Do they want more meeting rooms? They want more collaborative spaces. And then we also ask them to rate what they have, because there's always a bit of a difference between what people think they want and what they actually need. So we asked them to rate what they have. And using all of that information, we built a space schedule, and that kind of outlined how much we needed, like how many meeting rooms we needed, how many collaborative areas we needed, and how many desks we needed. And so with that, we were able to kind of bring down the amount of desking that we needed and bring up the amount of collaborative spaces. So the space that we're actually moving into, we're going to have less desks, even though it's twice the square footage, we're going to have less desks than we currently have in our warehouse.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And I think this is something that I've seen a lot of companies coming out and saying like, okay, we're going hybrid. But like, are they changing their actual office to do that? How can small companies adapt to that too? Because it's so much harder for a small company with less resources to go hybrid and provide the amenities that you might need, like lockers or the tech that shows you where to go, so that you're not coming in being like, I don't know which seat to sit in today. So yeah, how have you found that kind of apart from just putting in more collaborative spaces? Like, have you had to implement anything else to help with the move to hybrid?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say we're lucky in a way that we had a lease event coming up, and so we were able to start looking at moving, because our current space doesn't support the hybrid working. There's just not enough meeting rooms, not enough space. There's seas of desks, and so we're kind of putting off a lot of the things that we need to be doing. We're putting in our lockers, we're putting off everything pretty much until we move. But we are implementing things like using desk booking apps. Like that's a thing that we're doing, desk booking apps. So we're taking out some of the desks and putting in more like in-office collaborative spaces. I think there's like because we're going into a bit of a bigger office, so we have a little bit more to play around with. But yeah. Smaller offices, we have a smaller office in New York, and it's just tiny little changes that we're doing, but we're putting in lockers. We're taking out 2 banks of desks, and where they were, we're putting one kind of touchdown space and then one lounge space, and just kind of providing different settings for people to work at. And it still encourages the kinds of hybrid working, the kind of community that we want to inspire.
Yeah, that sounds great. And I guess it's hybrid working, but something that I know you talk a lot about is activity-based working as well. So it's not just about being able to be hybrid, but it's about being able to be in a space that suits what you need at that time. So yeah, that's really interesting. Absolutely. I love the idea that you I love the idea that you actually ask the people like what they want as well. I think that's so important to kind of know exactly what they want. Is there anything that you would say is like any mistakes you've made before that led to that decision of asking the people or anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. There's asking people what they want, right? And there's also asking your leadership what kind of workplaces they want, what the future of that is. And there's making that happy little marriage of those two things. I'm all about marriage today. I don't know what that's about. Like non-monogamous relationships, totally okay as well. Like happy, it's having those two things together, but also understanding that you're not going to fix everything. You're not going to be able to provide every single person with everything that they want. So kind of picking out the things that will make the most impact for the most people, make the most positive impact for the most people. So yeah, it's asking people what they want. It's bringing your own conclusions from what they want. It's not going into it with preconceived ideas. Like all of us who are in like office management, facilities management, workplace management, we all know what we love, right? We all know the kind of office we love to see. We all know those offices that you've walked into and you've gone, oh my God, this is beautiful. That doesn't necessarily work for your team. Like you have to find out what your teams need and you have to build them that.
Yeah, no, that's so true. And I think that I guess we're in similar positions because I think that like in the prop tech industry in particular, right now we're obviously going through this kind of change to COVID and hybrid working too. But a lot of the time, all the messaging and marketing that surrounds like ROI and how to get better, revenue from your building or less space. But actually what we need to all be thinking about more is like, how do we suit the needs of people now and how they've changed? So yeah, I think that COVID's been a real shift in what we're doing. But apart from the sort of hybrid stuff, how has COVID sort of changed how you see the workplace or how you design a workplace?
It's the flexibility. So it still feeds into the hybrid working. Sorry, but it's the flexibility. There's also it's the safety as well. Safety is really important to people. Whereas before, you kind of wouldn't get much traction on like things like your health and safety inductions. But people really want to know how you're keeping them safe. Like that is how a lot of the prop tech stuff out there was really helpful. But how are you keeping them safe? What are you doing to keep us safe from this thing? How are you providing a space that I can still go into and not feel like I'm going to get sick? Like that's a huge thing. But then once we get past the COVID, which we all hope is soon, right? It's the flexibility of a workspace. It's the flexibility of the working culture as well. So it's not just I'm building you a space that you can use in different ways. It's you choosing your right work setting, choosing when you come into the office, when you're going, how are you most productive, and allowing people and allowing our employees to have that autonomy to make that decision. Like it's up to them. How are we doing that? But I mean, we still have to figure out how big a space we need, and I'm sure there's a lot of people who've been able to give up some of their real estate portfolio for it. But like your return on investment isn't just about money. It's about the kind of culture that you want to promote, and is it this culture of trust? Like that's what it's bringing. The flexibility brings the trust, so that you know how you can work productively, not you must come in Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, because I don't trust that you are working.
Yeah, 100%. And that's something that's going to be really interesting coming back. With more people coming back to the office, is like, will there be some resistance to that? And do you think that obviously you guys have great offices, so it's probably going to be less of a problem for you. But how do you think? Have you got any plans in place to kind of help ease people back into the office, maybe slowly, or help encourage them in? What have you got planned?
Absolutely. I mean, we definitely have different contingents. We have the people that as soon as I opened up the office to 10 people were like, pick me, let me go in. And then you have people that haven't been to the office since March last year. So we want to try and put in a few nudges, just little nudges, we'll call them. Some days are going to be more popular than others. We've noticed Thursdays are days where people want to be in. So we want to encourage people, two things. We want to encourage them back in, generally. We'd like them to come back and connect with their colleagues. We still believe that co-location is important for us in terms of like coaching and connection and collaboration and community. Like all of those things are so important, and co-location is really, really helpful for that. losing my train of thought. So the things that we want to do, right? We're going to start off with just a few small things like coffee mornings, and it'll be come in just for that time, for that hour, have a little socialize, get to know some people outside of your team, your immediate team, and then go home. And that's it. That's just like your one little pop into the office. Then we're going to have, on the less popular days, to encourage just general attendance across the week, we're going to have things like traditional tech free stuff, but we're going to have our breakfast on a Monday and different team events, things on a Friday to encourage people in on the Friday, to try and spread it out a little bit as well. And then just kind of just increasing some of our in-office events. Like we still have remote people, and we have global offices, so we don't want to go back to that point where people didn't feel involved just because they weren't in the office. So we still want to encourage other kinds of like spaces for collaboration and connection and getting to know people outside of your team and outside of your office. We still want to encourage those things, but we do want to have people coming back in and connecting with each other. There's people that have joined during the pandemic that have never met their teams, and it's just so important for building those relationships, even if you just meet them once. Like you look at all those companies that are all remote, they do so many like they do like monthly get-togethers or quarterly get-togethers, because it's still important to get together. So a few things. And we're also going to build an awesome office that makes people want to come there and be like, oh, it's so pretty.
Yeah, definitely. No, I think that's so true. And you know, you can message like so much over Slack, but you don't have an honest conversation over Slack, do you? Or any sort of messaging service. I'm not going to be biased towards Slack. It's so true. You can't really be like, you kind of just get into business. You don't really say like, oh, how was your weekend so much, or have like a longer conversation. So yeah, I think that's the really nice idea about the coffee morning. But something I'm really interested in as well, and to touch on what you said at the beginning there, is just the coaching part. For like new graduates or people who are new to a company, it's so important to like see how other people are working and to learn culture through that way as well. So
yeah, like absolutely. We have a fairly young demographic, and we also have things like internships, and it's just about like having someone next to you when you're working on something, like, oh, I did this cool thing, can I show you? And that just doesn't even necessarily just apply to our younger demographic. I do the same thing with my team, who are seasoned office managers. And actually being in the office, I'm like, oh, I made this cool spreadsheet. Do you want to see? I mean, said no one ever, but I do. I don't want to see it. But like, it's having that opportunity to just turn around to someone and say, like, I'm struggling with this thing, can you help? And being able to demonstrate. I know we can screen share on all of our video conferencing things, but some of it, it's lacking something, the ability to explain where you're going wrong. It's just a little bit harder, like just that little bit harder. And particularly like going back to the younger ones, people who haven't been in these kind of working environments before. They haven't done a lot of this. They haven't done a lot of video conferencing. They haven't worked on lots of messaging apps. Like they have their own personal ones. Obviously, we're all on Instagram and whatnot. It really dates you by what social media you use, doesn't it? Sorry, it's TikTok. I'm on TikTok. We're all on it. It's not the same as using those things for work. It's not the same as that. It's not. And like particularly if they're young or they're new, they haven't done that role before, it's like, how do you explain something like that to them? Like, I mean, there are ways, but it's a lot easier in person.
Yeah, 100%. And with the hybrid working as well, like something that I've kind of come across quite a lot is, you know, you'll go into somewhere where it's hot desking and you can like find a seat and you sit down, and then you realize that you're surrounded by people who aren't in your team or don't have anything to do with you. And it's not really a productive way to work because you're not able to have that kind of communication that you came into the office for. So yeah, have you got any tips on how to get around that sort of thing?
I might contradict you a little bit, right?
Okay.
Because I do think there's value in sitting with people that do different things to you, and sitting with people outside of your team and being kind of around them as they're working. But then obviously I find that as workplace manager, because part of my job is to watch how people use our office.
Yeah.
So I do think there's value in that. But there is also a lot of value with sitting with your team to get work done. So this is where we use the tech, right? We have the ability with our desk booking system to schedule a day in the office, and then it pings everyone that you've invited to come to the office with you, and it seats everyone in seats around you.
Oh,
That's really cool. Like, that's quite a new feature with the one that we use, and honestly, it's blown my mind. Fantastic. We're also doing things as we build out the new office. We're going to have neighborhoods for different teams and different departments. So while it's still hot desking and you can still choose to sit anywhere, if you gravitate towards a particular neighborhood, that neighborhood will be more set up for your needs. So e.g. like our engineers need lots of screens. They work in like their teams, their production teams, so they need visuals. So we'll have the things that they need around them. Whereas like obviously our legal and our finance and our people team need more quiet space, and they need storage for sensitive documents, and they need privacy. So they're going to be in kind of we'll set up that neighborhood for them. And then everyone in between. So you'll start to get people they'll start to gravitate towards their neighborhoods. But we still want to offer them flexibility. If you want to go and sit with a different team, go and do it.
Yeah, and I love that idea, like the kind of different needs for different things, and it comes back to activity based as well. And yeah, I think you're right about, sitting next to different people. Like we've definitely found, like with the tech team, for example, when I'm not in the office, I don't have as much need to speak to them. But then like when you're there and you can hear what's happening, it's very exciting, and you're thinking like, oh yeah, this is great. So I think especially in places that are quite fast paced, it's really important to be able to hear what all the other teams are working on as well. Is there any other ways that you're kind of like using tech in the new office, and any other like cool things you want to share?
So what else are we doing? We're doing this. I mean, this isn't new tech, but room booking software where you can check in and check out. We have a lot of problems with ghost meetings at the moment. We don't have enough meeting rooms, but they're sitting empty half the time because people are booking them and not turning up to them. So that's one that I love.
I think that's a real common problem as well. I've seen this a lot. Or even someone will book and it's just one person on the Zoom call, and then you're like, well, I've got this 8-person meeting room booked by one person.
It's like, please look appropriately. I'm doing some stuff about that at the moment on our learning platform. I mean, hopefully people really will read it. But around like meeting room etiquette, like don't book the boardroom for your one-person Zoom call. Like that's not cool. And don't cram 20 people into one meeting room. Also, there's a pandemic still. Did you know? Yeah. So that's a real problem. So I had this system in my last office. And honestly, it's fantastic because you had the recurring meetings that people would book in because in case they might need a meeting room. And if you didn't check in, it kicked out your meeting. It was great. It was fantastic. We never had problems where people were wandering around looking for meeting rooms. So I'm pretty excited to get that one in. Yeah. We're going to put in lockers. We still haven't figured out what ones yet. But ideally, I'd like to get ones that work with your pass so that I don't have to mess around with keys and people don't lock their stuff away or leave and take their keys with them and we never see them again. We had to crack it open with a crowbar, anything like that. And similarly, same thing for printers as well, so that you have to swipe your card to pick it up. So they're kind of the bits that we're using. And then the desk booking app provides us with analytics around who's booking where and what desk utilization is, and we'll have the meeting room utilization from the meeting booker. So I'm really excited about all this data I'm going to have. Like I'm actually crazy excited about all this data that I'm going to have because it's going to help me when I have to figure out what next year's plan is. Like how do we adapt? Because I'm going to build this workplace, this office, and it's going to be great and beautiful. And they'll be like, oh, actually, I think we need this thing. So it's going to be the thing that I need is data to show me how we can change it, how we can adapt it, what do we do? It's, again, back to that flexibility piece.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, I think that's such an interesting point about the data. And I feel like it seems like something that's really obvious, but also something that's like so overlooked. with especially stuff which is like experiential. It's like, oh, the office, it's experience. We'll just have to see how it goes. But actually being able to have the numbers, like you can make a data-driven decision next time.
That's it. And so when you present your stuff, when you're asking for more money, when you're just trying to make the changes, you have a backup. Like, as someone who does this for a living, you know what you need to do, you know what you need to fit in, but what you need to be able to do is explain why. And particularly, I mean, I found working in tech, like many decisions are data driven. many decisions are data driven. And if you can present it in a way that the people that you need to present it to understand, and it's really easy, and you have evidence as to why you need to do this thing, then you'll be able to do the thing.
Yeah, and I think also because you're getting the qualitative data from like asking the people, but as you say, like sometimes people think they want something that actually isn't what they want. So being able to overlay the kind of data there, being like, you said you want more meeting rooms, but you're not using all of them. So
exactly. I'd love to get I can't remember which company it was. I'm not name dropping companies anyway, but they have these sensors that sense if people are at the desks and where they are. I would love to get those.
I think that might be a edge case, so maybe we can speak after this. I think that's the company that you were talking about there. No, that's cool. And I think, after obviously we've spoken quite a bit about the workplace and like the offices and desks and stuff like that. But I guess what else is there to the kind of workplace management in terms of, the social side of it, or sustainability, sustainable goals, that sort of thing? And what else fills your day up?
Oh, my day. My day is everything from why is this print not working? Do I just need to deal with that situation, to what are we doing next year in LA? Like I'll tell you what I did today. Today I talked to my brand marketing team about how we can get more Depop design into our new office. After spending half an hour with our cleaning team to talk about clearing the desks that we're not 100% sure those people still work here anymore, and heading down into the toilets in our basement because there's a funny smell and I can't figure out where it is. It's broad. It's broad.
Yeah, you get the full spectrum. No, that's really cool. And then so the kind of like social areas and sort of team building outings, do you like get involved with that sort of thing?
Yeah, that's a good thing. So there's like a few aspects to that because it crosses different teams. So teams have their own like internal budgets to do stuff as a team. Then we look at things that we do as a global team, that's what actually the remote working has been really helpful for that. It's put everyone kind of on the same footing, which is wonderful. And then we're looking, with obviously not doing them yet because still a pandemic, but we're looking at doing like kind of monthly get-togethers or events, or what can we do to provide that experience. That's a bit like the workplace team covers, but we also have a people team. And we have a person whose job is dedicated to culture and comms on our people team. And his job is to kind of find the social moments, the cultural moments, and like the philanthropic moments that we want to celebrate. Because there's a day for everything. There is so much. Like there's National Burger Day. Like there's a day for everything. And if we try to do all of them, it will just be a constant thing and they won't be meaningful anymore. So what he does, and he is fantastic at this, is identifying the things that will resonate most with our people and spreading and having them spread out so that there's something going on, but it's something that can cater for different groups of people, different people get involved in different ways. It's really good at it, and we'll never take them away with it. And so he identifies those things, and then my team helps him actually execute them.
No, that's great. And I guess, do you think that you'll ever come back to like the same level of occupancy that you were pre-COVID, or do you think you'll always have this sort of really flexible working structure?
I think that we'll always have this really flexible working structure. Like we've got a taste for it now.
I think that's how a lot of people feel. It's like, oh, it's too It's too good to let go of, really.
Like, I do think it will change and it will evolve. And that's what I've put in my future of work policy, is that we will review this on a 6-monthly basis. But we've set out, like, in that policy what it is we're trying to achieve. And so as long as like our policy is always achieving that thing, then it will stay the same. But I think it's part of just working in a fast-paced startup is about that flexibility and that adaptability. Like, sometimes we have to change our minds and change our directions quite quickly on that. But it's also it's about talent attraction and retention, right? If you're not offering what everyone else is offering, you're going to lose out on some amazing human beings.
Yeah, that's such a good point, actually. I feel like not that many people are talking about that, like, people are demanding this now and they can have choice on where they go and where they work.
Yeah.
It's so true. Yeah. And I love the point about flexibility, but not only in the office, but like in your actual plan and like having that room. I'm pretty interested to hear. So, in the tech world, we always talk about fast fail and, test and learn and that sort of thing. But it must be pretty hard doing that, building an office. And it's obviously quite investment heavy. Like, how do you approach test and learn?
Oh my goodness. It really is. I mean, actually, the COVID has been really helpful for this, because a lot of like landlords out there are being a bit more flexible. But you used to have to plan for a 10-year lease. And if you're in a tech company, if you're a fast growing startup, like, you don't know, like, hopefully in 10 years, you're like thousands of people and everything's doing wonderfully, but it might not. It might take a longer time to get to that point. So it's really changed the way that we can look at that, which is super helpful. Yeah, it's the big investments. We went through some exercises around like how much space we need, and a lot of that again came off of that survey. So like, if you were going on a like per person basis, you need quite a lot of space. We were able to use the survey to kind of figure out how much space we need and how much space to dedicate to different things. All of that was like super helpful. But what we were also doing is finding out how else we can expand in building, in case it turns out actually everyone wants to come back in all the time, because if that happens, I need more space. So yeah, it's definitely hard. Like, it's harder in our industry to do that. So there's some training that's going to go into how people use our office to try and mitigate that. Like, so, because if everyone wants to come in and sit at a desk, I don't have enough desks. Right?
Yeah.
Not enough desks for the amount of people that we are. So if they want to come in and sit at the desk, we need a lot more space. So we're going to do like a program leading up to us moving around what is activity-based working. Which it's my favorite thing to talk about in the world. That's what it is. But it's about like, what is that? How does that do the way that we work, and how do we use it? I'm really lucky that I'm working with some really collaborative and adaptable human beings at Depop. So I think they'll pick it up quite quickly. But I know previous companies that I've worked in that are a bit more corporate, they would have been hard. People like their desk, they like their home, they like to have their picture of their dog, and they like to have their pen pot. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I have all of these things here on my desk. Like, I'm not judging that, but they're on my desk at home, not at the office. But yeah, so we're going to train people how to use it, but we're also going to keep those things in our back pocket in case we do need to expand or change the way that we're doing things. But,
yeah. The training is really, really interesting as well. And like, how has that communication piece become more important through, I guess, after COVID? Like, we've seen ourselves just having sort of sensors around the place and stuff, and people were like, well, it's not that useful unless they know why it's there. So just having that communication piece and being able to show them like what value that's giving them. Like you said with the training, like, why does the office look like this? How should I use it? How am I going to get impact from that? Really important.
Yeah, we're also going to go through, because when we're talking about it, we want to talk about it not just including the office. We want to include your home as well. And now it can depend on who you are and what your home situation is like. But for me, If I want to get focus work done or be on a webinar, I doing that from home is better. I'm quite visible, obviously, just also the hair, but I'm quite visible and need to be approachable in the office. So people will come up to me and tell me that there is a light bulb out. They will walk straight past the person they're supposed to report it to, by the way, to come up to me and tell me that there is a light bulb out. When you're told there's a light bulb out, Fiona, how do I send this? How do I deal with this thing? How do I deal with that thing? Can I chat to you for 20 minutes about what I want from the new office? Those things. It's very hard for me to sit down and actually, plan the new office or get those things done. So for me, home is my focus work time and my collaborative time is in the office. But I know that it's the opposite for other people because their home is busy and they have children and dogs and things happening, or their partner is also working from home, or they're living in shared housing. So they come to the office to get that stuff done. So we're just we're going to build training around like what you're trying to achieve. Here is how the office can support you, and here is how home can support you, and just pick what's right for you.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah. And how do you take that into your own like life, I guess? Do you, when you do go to the office, obviously you have to be more available. Do you like plan time to just be available in your calendar? Like what kind of tasks would you do when you're in the office?
Yeah, I would love to be able to do that and set like certain parameters about when people can come and talk to me, but then it's just not the way that my job works. So I tend to plan the time in the office. We're working with my team and working with the other teams that we collaborate with. But also there's a lot of on-office work that has to be done. Like I said, the current thing is clearing out the desks of the 15 months stuff that people haven't needed, people haven't come back to collect. Some of them are a little bit upset about this, but they'll learn. But like it's quite a physical thing. And now I could delegate that to my team. But I think one of the things that is important is being visible around the office. So where I actually sit is not that visible. I'm quite tucked away, or my preferred, because we are hot desking, but my preferred seat, that my desk booking thing has learned what my preferred seat is, which is delightful. But it's not very visible. So actually getting up and being around the office and being visible to people and being seen to be working on things is really important. And I'm happy to be approached at any point like that. And I think it's also important as like a workplace manager, as someone who works in this. There's a lot of the stuff that we do that's not visible. There's all the health and safety and compliance stuff that you do. And it's not very visible, and the team is so integral. Like we have life and death stuff, right? We look after life and death stuff. We had a fire drill today, life and death stuff, right? And it's seen as boring whenever people have to do their health and safety induction. I'm like, oh, it's so boring. I'm like, oh, it's your life, that's important. But there's so much of this stuff that's kind of running in the background, keeping it working. You never know that we're not doing our jobs or you never know what we're doing until we're not doing it. Like until something breaks or when something just needs work. So it's like a kind of visibility thing that I do with my team, like showing how we are available. We are here, we are helping, we are part of the team. One of the more historic places that I've worked, we were definitely just the help. Like we were treated like the help, and we're part of the team. We literally keep the lights on. So we want to be there and we want to be working, and you can see what we're doing. And we are lucky in a way that a lot of our work is much more tangible than what other people are working on. They're more conceptual, but I'm like, you can see that I just made you a really cool lounge area out of these chairs in random places. It's just, it's trying to elevate the team and elevate workplace and what we do and how it's so important and how it affects our culture. Just the whole list.
I think you're so right. Like that used to be less glamorous, I guess, than it is now post-COVID. Like people are realizing actually the office is so important, and like it needs to be a healthy space, productive space to work. And hopefully that helps get you guys the credit that you deserve too.
Like the team's definitely appreciated, and like the last 3 places I've worked, like we're definitely appreciated and we're part of it by the majority of people. Yeah. It never hurts to shout about what your team are doing.
No. We've had a question come in actually. So what's the one thing that you would love to bring into the office that you created with money being no object? That's Caitlin with the hard hitting question, so you can thank her later.
Oh, it's really like it's not very glam. Sorry. Like, I tell you, the one thing that I hate is the questions for a slide. Thanks so much, Google or Microsoft or whoever they put a slide in their office. I'm like, no. What I really want is like a proper breakfast bar. It's not very glam at all. Like,
I love breakfast, so that seems glam to me. I would love that.
It's the best, right? It's the best. And there's so many people they're busy in the morning, they've got to commute, they've got to get their kids out the door, like there's a lot going on and they don't eat a proper breakfast. Right? And I am personally quite a cranky human if I do not have breakfast. And so I want, rather than like, I've had various forms of it, but I just would love a dedicated one that has your breakfast bases, right? So your granola, your porridge, like muesli, and then all the different things that you can add onto it. And like a place where you can poach some eggs. I just would love that in like almost like a conveyor belt way, because that's who I am. I like a logical order to things. And so this is just not a very good money, no object thing. Like I'm not reaching for the stars here, but like I think it's a really important thing. And people are so busy and they don't eat properly. And like if we can help start people's days off right, like I was saying to my team, like as receptionists, you're front of house, right? You are the first thing they see when they work, when they walk into the office. So let's say someone had a really crappy commute, right? They walk into the office and you're like, hi, how are you? Or how was your day? Oh, it's good. You know, just a chat, right? Like a 2-second thing with a big smile on your face. You won't change that person's day. And this breakfast bar is that one step further, right? They come in, great time talking to whoever's at the front desk. They get their breakfast and they sit down and they are set up for a really good working day already.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's a really influential thing.
Yeah, I can agree. Yeah. I've worked somewhere previously where we had breakfast and lunch kind of made for us, and it was like people would come to the office like early to get their breakfast and sit and have a chat to colleagues, and it really does create so much more collaboration like over food. So anyone who knows me knows I can speak about food for hours, so I'm probably not going to bore you with that. We can do that later. But I'm not seeing any more questions come through, so I think we're probably good there. Yeah, thank you so much. I feel like I've learned so much more about like being a senior workplace manager, and yeah, I'm really excited to hopefully get some photos later of the new Depop office.
It's going to be great. I can't talk about it at the moment about where it is or too much about it.
Yeah.
Soon, but I'm so excited because I've told so many people about it.
Yeah, well, I for one, I'm also very excited. So yeah, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.